Hello pretty makers! I'm really excited about this video. We are going to make these LuXe Dollar Tree wreaths and swags, perfect for fall. Dollar Tree really had some great products this year that make these DIYs very high-end and will add some touches of luxe you're just going to have to see. I think DIY 3 is my favorite, but let me know in the comments which one you like and if you're inspired to make one of your own. So if you're ready, let's go make something pretty. DIY 1 was inspired by something I saw on the Grandinroad website called the Gothic LuXe wreath, and LuXe is the theme for this video. The supplies for this wreath are all from Dollar Tree. The 14-inch wreath form, 3 orange flower stems, 4 black rose stems, 4 packs of the orange pumpkin clips, 2 in white and 2 in orange, black paint and gold paint, some pearls, I used the ribbon pearls from Dollar Tree, black glitter, I got mine from Michael's, and last but not least, a pool noodle. To prep the wreath form, I use something I call the remade wreath form technique. See my wreath making tips video for details on how to do this. I love this technique, it makes life a lot easier. Now let's make the pumpkins pretty. I removed the clips from the bottom of each pumpkin and inserted some medium-sized toothpicks so they can be inserted into the wreath easily. I painted the orange pumpkins black, they'll need about 2 coats, and the white pumpkins gold. The gold paint is pretty sheer, so you need about 3 coats, letting each coat dry in between. Some of the speckles will peek through the gold, but that's fine, it adds to the charm. On the second coat of the black, sprinkle them all over with the black glitter while the paint is still wet, and then let them dry completely. Once the gold pumpkins are dry, add individual pearls in a random pattern all over the pumpkin. This really took them to the next level. You'll also want to prep your flowers and your leaves so that it's easy to attach them to the wreath. See my video on wreath making tips for all of these techniques to make wreath making super easy. Now it's just a matter of assembling your wreath. So let's go to the board. Because we did all the prep, this part goes pretty fast, but it is the most fun seeing it all come together. First I added the black roses around in various locations, and then I added the orange flowers. You want to look at your project from different angles as you go so you don't leave any holes or have it become lopsided. Next, I added the green and black leaves to fill everything in. And last but not least, let's add those pretty pumpkins for a great finishing touch. At the end, I did add the last couple orange flowers and a few sprigs of fern I had on hand to match the inspiration. And that's it, you're done. I think it really came out so pretty, and it's a pretty good dupe for the inspiration. In all, I think I spent around $15 for this wreath. It'll make such a pretty accent for your fall or Halloween decor. Before we go on to the next DIY, I just wanted to show you real quick how I lay out and get organized around my projects. Maybe this might help you as well. For more details, I have a video, Tips for Wreath Making, so make sure you check that out. But here you can see I have a bucket for all the stems I'm going to use in a particular project, and I lay out my accent pieces in front of the bucket. This really helps me make sure that I know that the palette is working well together and I'm satisfied with all of the products I want to use for a particular project. Now on to the next DIY. The second DIY is this Farmhouse neutral with a Touch of Glam Wreath. I came up with this as soon as I saw these amazing faux wood pumpkins at Dollar Tree. For this wreath, I used about 7 stems. 1 cream dahlia stem, 3 of the sunflower stems that have pumpkins, pine cones, and a piece of wheat included, 3 fall leaf stems, 1 package of the berry garland, and the accent is these amazing faux wood pumpkins. This wreath uses the remade wreath form technique as we did for the first DIY, and I prepped the flowers and leaves the same way as well. Now we can start assembling. I started adding each of the flowers, some of the wheat, the mini pumpkins, the dahlias, some of the extra leaves, and the pine cones that came with the sunflowers, and finally the fall leaves. This is where I changed the design. Once I started adding the pumpkins, I really didn't like how the large sunflowers looked. I also forgot to leave a space for the ribbon at the top, so I started to rearrange things a little. The last element I added was the berry garland. I attached it to the wreath form and then just simply weaved it through the wreath. Let me show you how I attached the pumpkins. As you know, I'm a fan of command strips. I added them to the back of the pumpkin, and then I used a pipe cleaner to wire them to the wreath form. I have to say this was a pretty good idea and worked really well. But let me know in the comments if you have another way to attach these pumpkins to the wreath without damaging them. The last step is to add a ribbon to the top. I didn't have any Dollar Tree ribbon, so I used some that I had on hand. And of course, a pretty glam brooch to the center of the bow added that final high-end touch to this wreath. The next DIY is the blue and gold harvest swag. I think this one might be my favorite. The colors are a little different, but go so well together. It's so rich looking and has a substantial size. This is what I love so much about making swags. You can use about the same amount of supplies, but I think you get a much larger outcome. And it's a little different, so it'll stand out. As always, let's start out with some supplies and some prep. For supplies, you'll need 2 blue and 1 gold velvet pumpkin from Dollar Tree. I really love these pumpkins, and the colors were amazing this year. This is our LuXe factor. You'll also need 2 of the large glitter sunflower clips, several Dollar Tree floral stems, 2 to 3 rolls of ribbon of your choice, and some bling if you have it. I always do, but this is optional. And I make all my swags with a pool noodle, and it couldn't be easier. Just a little prep will go a long way. To prep the pumpkins, you need to add some wire or a pipe cleaner to the pumpkin. I used floral pins. You can get them at Michael's or Hobby Lobby. They worked nicely, stayed in place, and didn't damage the pumpkin. The pipe cleaner is the perfect size to wrap around the pool noodle. Pop the clips out of the back of the sunflower and insert a piece of leftover wire stem to make it a pick. Then cut all your flower stems to 2 inches. If you're using bling, attach them to the pumpkins now. I don't recommend hot glue. It makes the crystals cloudy. I used another floral pin, slipping it through the holes on the brooch and attaching it to the pumpkin. And last, make 3 ribbon streamer bundles. Just cut 3 strips of each ribbon to 12 inches. Layer them on top of each other. Scrunch the center and secure with a pipe cleaner. Don't forget to dovetail all the ends. Now for the fun part. Let's put it all together. The base for all of my swags are pool noodles. For full details on making the swag base, check out my tips for wreath making video. The way I started was to put the pumpkins and sunflowers on first. I made sort of an S shape. The rest of the flowers will fill in around these focal points. First I added the ribbon bundles, then the gold leaves, the blue peonies, eucalyptus, blue leaves, and finally the feathers at the bottom. Make sure you fluff everything as you go, especially the ribbon. I ended up moving the bottom bundle more center. I am so in love with this swag. You can make it in any color combination. If you like more traditional, they have amber, gold, and green pumpkins that would look just as pretty. It only cost about $15 to make. No one will believe you made it from Dollar Tree supplies. Let's time lapse a pink one I did for my friend quickly as a bonus. I used basically the same supplies, swapping out the blue for pink. If you have trouble finding any of the supplies, you can always substitute the check mesh, which comes in blue or mauve, or some other ribbon from Dollar Tree that would look just as pretty. Quick tip as well, I don't use glue on my stems, but if you'll be putting this in a place where it might get jostled a bit, you might want to put a little bit of hot glue on each stem for added security. It really comes out so pretty, so easy, and so high-end. I hope you enjoyed this video and saw something that inspired you. If you did, please subscribe. If you have any questions, leave me some comments. I thank you for watching and keep making pretty things.